Welcome to Healthcare Forward, where industry leaders, benefit advisors, and healthcare professionals come together and discuss the changing landscape of commercial health plans. Brought to you by Roundstone Insurance, the first group captive for health insurance, where smarter self-funding meets long-term savings. I'm Mike Schroeder, founder and president of Roundstone Insurance.
Hello, this is Mike Schroeder, president of Roundstone, and I'm here at Roundstone's podcast, Healthcare Forward, and I have a special guest, one of our own here at Roundstone, Daniel Demyan. Daniel, why don't you introduce yourself, share with the folks what you do at Roundstone, and give a little background of how you found your way here at Roundstone.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mike. And it's an honor to be here on such a esteemed podcast with such an esteemed host. So I'm Roundstone's cost containment strategist, and what I do is I vet and evaluate partnerships with pharmacy benefit managers and different healthcare point solutions so that we can recommend to our clients and implement for our clients to help them reduce our healthcare spending without sacrificing the value of care.
And what did you do before you showed up here at Roundstone?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I got my master's in healthcare management, and before that I'd been working at a hospital. So altogether about 10 years of payer and provider experience. And then these past 4 years at Roundstone, I've dealt with dozens, if not hundreds, of different PBMs and every kind of healthcare vendor you can imagine.
All right, so Roundstone, we manage a self-funded stop-loss captive. I think we all know and understand that when you self-fund, and certainly with a captive, it's a long-term strategy. And it's a strategy that gives you a lot of control. So you get to choose some of your service providers, or as you say, point solutions. Things like who your third-party administrator is to manage your claims, and who your pharmacy benefit manager is, or PBM, and who your network is, plan design, so on and so forth. I guess my question to you is, talk to me a little bit about, before we jump into our conversation about pharmacy benefit managers or PBMs, talk about how important those choices are and making them with alignment in mind.
Yeah, so with self-funding, especially for small to mid-sized businesses, the way you're saving is that you're taking apart the core components of a health plan. So your third-party administrator, your network, your pharmacy benefit manager, they're all doing the things that you would get through a fully insured plan. You're just cutting out some of the middlemen, and you're paying what you need to pay and nothing more. So it's important that employers, pick these pieces of their bundle in a way that they work together and that they're aligned with the employer's interest. And that's something we strive to help our clients with at Roundstone by identifying which pieces of the puzzle fit together, who's a good actor, who's a not so good actor, and which one our clients should use.
Great. So we're going to talk about PBMs today, the acronym for Pharmacy Benefit Manager.
Yeah.
Why don't you share, what is a PBM and what is their role in this solution?
A PBM is a guy who emails me constantly, whether I want it or not. But actually, PBM, they manage and administer the pharmacy aspect of the health plan. So they have the network of pharmacies that your employees can go to. They negotiate pricing with the manufacturers. So we're evaluating different PBMs, building partnerships with them to identify the ones who can deliver the most value to our clients.
So I know drug spend is top of people's mind, and we hear quite frequently how healthcare costs, but in particular, prescription drugs are going up fairly dramatically. How has that changed over the past 10 years when you look at what prescription drugs make up of an annual healthcare spend?
So a lot of miraculous drugs are coming out year after year. A lot of fun and new, interesting drugs, but for health purposes. But the thing is that manufacturers can charge whatever they want for these drugs, and research and development is expensive in their defense. But in 2014, commercial health plan drug spending, pharmacy spending was about 10%. The most recent employer surveys for the commercial market put that number between 22 and as high as 27% of the health plan. So it's, for a variety of reasons, it's climbing and climbing, and employers who are concerned about their bottom line really need to be paying attention to it.
I know one of the things driving this increase in cost is this thing called a GLP-1. Can you share with us what are these GLP-1 drugs that are causing the expensive prescription drugs to go up?
Yeah, it's a very, very fun topic, GLP-1s. But so GLP-1s, it's a type of drug. They've actually been around since the mid-2000s, but they've exploded in popularity these past couple of years. So they originally were used to only treat type 2 diabetes. So it does the things that like an insulin does, and it also has a great feature / side effect that it interacts with the body, that it makes people essentially less hungry. So they feel fuller longer, and it helps people these kinds of drugs help people lose weight. So you have, individuals with type 2 diabetes who take these drugs. Then you have individuals who don't have type 2 diabetes who get a prescription one way or another to use these drugs, lose a few pounds. And the FDA is also, they've also approved GLP-1 drugs, which are it's the same basic formula, the same compound, but they've approved some of these drugs actually for weight loss. So some plans are covering it that way. But in the past, I think there's a study in like 2022 or something, 12% of Americans stated that they had used a GLP-1 before. Wow. And every year it's getting more popular.
Should employers permit GLP-1s to be accessible on their health plan? And if they do, how should they go about it?
Mm-hmm. To put on, you can appreciate this answer because you went to law school, but it depends. Especially on what you want to do with your health plan. So if you're extremely focused on the bottom line and your primary concern is to save money, it's likely that you're not going to save money by covering GLP-1s. These drugs can cost, it's in the grand scheme of drugs, it's not that expensive, maybe like $500 to $1,000, $500 to $1,200 per year per use. Sorry. $500 to $1,200 per user per month.
Right.
So
about $6,000 an employee, sounds like, on the low end.
Yeah, on the low end, and then as high as like $18,000, like $12,000 per year. So there's an argument that by covering GLP-1s, you can save money through the long-term benefits of weight loss. But a lot of research is coming out showing that when people stop taking GLP-1s, they often gain the weight back. But there are ways to, if you're going to cover GLP-1s and you want to see an ROI on it, then you need to work with your PBM to have really thorough prior authorization processes to make sure that the folks who are getting prescribed GLP-1s actually need them, and that they're getting it, that they're being prescribed these drugs in line with the language of the health plan.
It sounds like the PBM has a pretty big role then in those prior auths and the formulary and the implementation of the GLP-1 access. What about overall? Can you talk a little bit about how a good PBM manages the formulary to better manage cost?
Yeah, and this is one of the fundamental items of how a PBM operates. But they should work with the plan sponsor to establish what does the plan want to do. Do you want to provide a better member experience and cover more drugs, but it'll be more expensive? Or you can narrow the formulary, cover a limited set of drugs. You might hear some member disruption, but you'll likely save money. So the PBMs that we work with, they can support the plan sponsor and help them make decisions based on their goals.
What other cost-saving ideas would a good PBM bring to the table, other than just formulary management? Do you have some other? If you had a good PBM, what other kind of things are they doing to help you as an employer manage costs?
So there are a lot of different ways to approach it. On the front end, base criteria. We only recommend PBMs whose contracts are aligned with the employer. So this means, if they get rebate dollars for the drugs that, they're bringing to members, they give those rebates to the employer, to the plan sponsor. Because a lot of the large PBMs don't do that. So that's, base criteria. We want to see transparent pricing and make sure that the PBM's interests are aligned with the plan sponsor and with the member. If we're talking specific cost containment strategies, there are different clinical management levers they can pull. For example, working with members and their physicians to ensure that the member is taking their drugs appropriately and that someone's available, like a pharmacist, to answer any questions that the member might have about their drug. And then when we're getting a little more creative, and this is extremely important for mid-market groups who are self-funding, there are ways to get the members their drugs and also save money, which is cool. It's the best of both worlds. Mainly, there are copay assistance programs where the PBMs help members apply for manufacturer assistance. There's a more robust version of this, these patient advocacy programs, where they modify the plan and then they look for ways to get the drug completely for free for the member. And then there are other routes like international sourcing, where you can source the FDA-approved drug from Canada or another like G8 country for a fraction of the price here.
Do all PBMs do this, or is there some that offer these type of strategies and others that just do not?
A lot of the legacy PBMs do not. A lot of the larger PBMs who work up market do not offer all of these programs. Clinical management is fairly uncontroversial, but they tend to shy away from international sourcing, from patient advocacy. They might have some valid reasons, but you also have to keep in mind that a lot of these larger PBMs are keeping that rebate money. So they stand to benefit from pushing more expensive drugs onto the members and onto the plan sponsors.
It seems like making the choice of a PBM can be a little complex with these moving parts. What do you do to help someone in picking the right PBM? I know Roundstone, we offer the scorecard, which has several different areas that we think are important. But can you just talk a little bit about how we do kind of offer some guidance to make sure they find the right PBM?
Yeah, well, my full-time job, my bread and butter is vetting these different PBMs. So we do a thorough check of everything that we just mentioned to make sure they have the appropriate contract, to make sure they have appropriate cost containment programs, and just great pricing, good rebates that they'll pass through to the employer. So we consult the employer on what they want to do, on who their TPA is, who their network is, and we help them build a preferred bundle with an appropriate PBM that meets them where they're at, is integrated with the rest of these core pieces of their health plan, and that based on their experience, the information we have will help the employer save money and deliver high quality care to their members.
And do we have PBMs that we kind of view as doing a really good job? I think what's it, you call them preferred? Yeah. So.
Yeah, we do have preferred PBM partners. We partner with independent PBMs. We also have a partnership with two of our preferred partners, our main partners are TrueRx and ServeURx, and they're more on the kind of flexible side, kind of cutting edge stuff in terms of cost containment approaches. We also have a great partnership with Cigna PBM, where we balance that approach because they're nimble and transparent, like some of these smaller PBMs, but they also can lean on their, that the weight of the Cigna name to get great pricing from Express Scripts and from the manufacturers.
I want to share a couple stories that I experienced personally in the whole RX prescription purchase environment, and let me know how this works. So I went I actually switched up my pharmacies. I had been going to one of the name brand pharmacies. I think it was CVS, and I switched and I started going to my primary care works at one of the local hospitals here, and I started going to that hospital's pharmacy. And in that process, one of my prescriptions, the price dropped fairly dramatically. It wasn't a super expensive, but my share of it went from $60 down to $5. And I kind of inquired how did that happen? And they basically brought up that the pharmacy at the provider was integrated with a PBM called GoodRx. And so they just have a better cash price is what they shared with me. I was hoping you could explain how that worked and how that happened. And, I know 60 to 5 isn't a ton of money, but hey, I liked it.
Yeah, savings are savings.
Right.
And I'm shocked you're telling me that CVS overcharged for a drug. That's shocking. But it's not a dig at CVS specifically. It's all the major chains. But I would say, so these programs are great for members and they're great for plan sponsors too. But the way GoodRx works is they get they work with these different pharmacies to get the so that the member can essentially use GoodRx to price shop at different pharmacies, and the price can vary drastically based on which pharmacy you go to for a lot of these generic drugs. So you can go from $30-$60 per script to almost nothing, to less than 10. I know a similar program, my mom used Cost Plus Drugs to get one of her MS medications. It was a generic, but that generic still cost around $600. She was able to get it for around $100 just by going to a different pharmacy. So the PBMs we work with have integrations with these discount cards. So either they can use the card or they can use their own pharmacy benefits card to get that great price at the pharmacy, at whatever pharmacy they go to.
So it's really important you're a PBM. One question to ask, I guess, is are they integrated with these discount cards? I mean, that's pretty important. Yeah. That's nice to know. Hey, I want to talk about another personal story. I had a relative who is retired, and money is important when you're retired. You're on a fixed income, and they were prescribed a new drug that was pretty expensive. It was about $2,000 a month, which was going to put a big cut into their budget.
Yeah,
and so they were pretty upset and worried about it. And it turns out that drug was just one of 4 or 5 that could do the job. It was a blood thinner medication, if I recall. And through that, one of those discount pharmacies, in this case, I think it was Cost Plus, they were able to get a similar drug that did the job and was authorized by the physician for like $45. I mean, do people have that level of control and that level of opportunity if they dig into this and look for ways to save money?
Absolutely, they do. So, and that's another benefit of working with our preferred PBM partners. So what's going on here is that a lot of drugs, I would say in healthcare in general, the cost is not necessarily associated with quality. So there's things can be expensive, but they're not necessarily good, or they're not necessarily the best option for that patient. This is huge in the drug space, where for a lot of high-cost specialty and brand name drugs, there are biosimilar drugs that are available, which does the same exact thing. It's just formulated a slightly different way. And there are generics, which are the same. For whatever reason, sometimes physicians will prescribe a drug that is on the top of their head. And it's up to the PBM to make sure that it's up to the PBM, the plan sponsor, to make sure you have mechanisms in place to guide members to those low-cost alternatives first, to, try those out before you break the bank.
And so as a member, educating those members, the PBM can let them know, hey, ask questions. Don't just assume that this expensive drug is the only choice for you. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I scratch my head and was like, why would the doc prescribe the $2,000 and not the $45 one? It seems. But I guess it probably goes back to that misaligned incentives again.
There are a lot of misaligned incentives. It's possible, someone took them out to dinner recently. It's possible they recently saw a commercial for it and they're like,
Right.
It's possible the patient saw a commercial and asked the doctor and the doctor didn't push back.
Right.
So, because, the doctor's not paying for it. So, have your script, go at it and
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Right. There's that great book out there, Never Pay the First Bill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That fella wrote it. That's a good book. Everybody should get that book.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions.
Yeah. Ask questions and don't believe in pharmacy manufacturer commercials.
Yep. Well, do you know in many countries in Europe, you're not allowed to advertise pharmacy RX on the TV.
Yeah, and they also the manufacturers don't have this insane patent protection on all their drugs too.
All right, I want to shift gears a little bit. You've been doing this a little bit. I'm sure you have some war stories, some situations where a PBM just did a great job and really helped out an employer and employee.
Yeah.
And also maybe and if you don't, I can share some myself, but there are times where we see a PBM that one of our customers is accessing that is really not living up to what we would hope they would do and not doing the best job. So if we can maybe talk a little bit about war stories. Let's start with the good one where we were real happy with the job they did.
Yeah. So funny you should ask that, because I was just thinking about it. But in terms of success stories, there's one I'd want to highlight because I think it touches on all the approaches that we talked about. But they helped. I'm going to get the specific number from my notes real quick. So this group was spending $399 per member per month on their pharmacy spend alone. After working with this PBM and implementing cost containment strategies, their spend went down to $129 per member per month.
Wow.
Which is, that's significant.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine they're able to offer better benefits for other things or give people raises. So This was a group with less than 100 lives. So it's not, some Fortune 500 company who's using their weight to get like a good deal on these things. But they work with one of our preferred PBM partners. They work with our preferred third-party administrator, Bywater. And on the front end, they had, this PBM does the fundamentals really well. And they were able to save the group $38,000 in 1 year just from their clinical reviews and prior authorization processes on GLP-1s alone. So when they got a order for a GLP-1, they call the doctor and, they talk about the member's history and they determine whether it's appropriate for this person to be prescribed that drug or whether there's a more affordable alternative. And then I think the bigger chunk of those savings, they implemented a program to help the members source high-cost drugs by other means. So, they sourced a lot of drugs from Canada, but net savings for this program alone, $180,000 in 1 year.
Wow.
For a group with less than 100 employees. So very happy with that one. It's fun to talk about.
So let's talk about a situation that didn't go well, and maybe what I'll describe what happened, and then you can share with us what caused something like this to go on. Why would this be an outcome that occurred? And this was the scenario, and I think we've talked about it before, where one of the large, as you put it, legacy PBMs had authorized a very expensive medication that was $45,000 a month. So you're talking about an over $500,000 annual claim. But unfortunately, that medication did not work with that particular patient. The patient had a negative reaction to it and could not take it for health reasons, and was prescribed another medication that was $1,000, and that medication was effective, and the patient had a good outcome with it. But the PBM did not authorize the less expensive medication that was more effective, even though they had authorized the other medication, which was not effective and was, obviously 45 times more expensive. What explains that? Why would that happen?
First of all, not uncommon when you're dealing with the big PBMs. How did that make you feel?
Well, as the company that's paying that $500,000 claim, it made me feel pretty frustrated. In particular, because we had also advised against that particular PBM. We wanted them to use a preferred PBM. But they went for the giant name. But again, the question I keep saying is, how could there be that much waste and misalignment in the industry? What is causing that?
I would imagine, especially considering the fact that the member benefited from the lower cost alternative that would have just cost a couple grand a year. I would imagine that the PBM, one way or another, likely through, a piece of the rebates that they're getting or whatever fees they tack onto that drug, the PBM's making money by pushing the more expensive drug. And that's the importance of aligned incentives and ensuring that that's not the way the PBM's getting compensated. I'm sure a lot of great people work at the PBM. I don't think they're out to, screw over their clients, but that's just the reality of the incentive structures that they've chosen for themselves. And I think, everyone involved in the healthcare industry, we have a responsibility to push alternatives and, incentives that align with the welfare of the members and, the welfare of the plan sponsors and the overall economy.
It kind of makes our conversation here go full circle. We started off talking alignment, and here we are seeing the outcome. If there is not alignment, it can become pretty expensive, and that's what we're talking about. I want to get a little personal with you, Daniel, okay? What about partner solutions and the role you have that kind of makes you get excited and feel good about yourself and really is the passion and motivation you have.
Well, for one, I have ADHD, so the sheer amount of different companies that I meet, keeps me engaged. Lots of new things to get excited about. I think this is more a statement on Roundstone in general, but our values are transparency. We don't take commission from any of our partners. So on that aligned incentives piece, when I'm vetting something, if I'm going to recommend it, I don't need to worry about Roundstone making money. We're just out for the good of the plan, the good of the member, and it makes us look good. Randomly, I was reading a Ralph Waldo Emerson commencement speech this weekend. Just
Yeah,
as one does.
I do that a lot myself.
Yeah. But it was a nice day, so
Right.
why the hell not?
Right.
That's like the perfect time to get on your balcony, read some poetry you didn't read in high school.
Commencement speech.
Exactly.
Is there a repository of commencement speeches? I didn't know you could find something like that.
It's just an anthology, and I guess he delivered a lot of. He was good at it, but it's actually related because he was talking about this, universal moral law, and how individuals, if you put good out into the universe, if you're truthful and honest, the natural law dictates there will be a reaction to that, and you'll see good things and you'll benefit. It's basically karma.
Right.
And I think you can attribute a lot of Roundstone's success to that basic element that we do good by doing good.
Yeah. That if we try to do well by others, it'll come back around.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. That would be fantastic because
Yeah.
we are aligned. It's a big part of what we think is, believe it or not, a differentiator. Let's chat. You look at a lot of different PBMs. You look at a lot of different cost containment solutions. What's really new that you've seen that you really like, that's kind of exciting, kind of cutting edge, that you hope has some wheels?
There are a lot of different things out there. Right now, I'm focused on vetting different solutions to help members with cancer on their care journey. This is personally close to me, but there's one I'm evaluating right now, and we haven't finalized anything. But they test people who are at risk, and then for people who have cancer, they help them with clinical support by answering any questions they have, and then they support people who have survived cancer. So a lot of this is digital, and it's just merging the fundamentals of healthcare with this technology we have on our hands. And there's another solution that connects people with clinical trials, whether they have cancer or other high-cost claims, and that shifts a lot of the costs away from the member and from the employer. And that's another exciting route. There are so many ways to innovate, and it's one of the good things about our fractured healthcare systems, that it opens the room for a lot of innovation.
A lot of creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I want to talk a little bit about costs. And, a lot of times when we're dealing with a new PBM or a new advisor, they have opinions about how much cost is with a certain PBM. And sometimes that does not match up with our experience or what we view as cost. So share with how we go about determining what a PBM's costs are, and then what do we look at in terms of concluding that, hey, this PBM really does have costs that are close to the best in the market. How do we do that?
So the nice thing about Roundstone is that we have lots of experience and we have lots of claims data. When we're evaluating the costs of a PBM, we look at their base drug costs. We look at how much the PBM is distributing in rebates for all of those drugs. And we also look at the PBM's admin costs, if they have any. So we have all of this data, and actually our analysis is based on over 500,000 claims that we have, and we can just see we have the data. It's not prospective. We're not just going out and having PBMs do repricing analyses where they can fudge the numbers. We have the actual performance data on this or that PBM, so we can see if their performance matches up with the rhetoric.
How big a difference is there? I mean, I'm going to throw some numbers out and tell me if I'm directionally correct here. I understand that some of these PBMs will have per member monthly costs that are over $200. Let's say $250 per member per month in for a drug cost, and then other PBMs that we have available to us, and we've looked at the data for the same exact prescriptions are down at $104, $105 per member per month. Is there that big a difference?
There is, and it's those aligned incentives. They're the case you described earlier, like the not success story.
Right.
That's happening when there are misaligned incentives. That's happening over and over again in the market. So members are getting more, and plans are paying for more expensive drugs when the members could benefit from something that is way less expensive. It keeps happening, and that's why we really push our clients. They ultimately have freedom to choose who they'll work with, but we advocate for the partners that we've vetted, and we know that they're good actors.
Well, it's just going to cost you more money, I guess, if you ignore that where those costs are coming from. It's a mistake when you set up your self-funded health plan. It's a mistake if you pick the wrong PBM.
Yeah, you gotta. A lot of the larger PBMs will kind of woo people. They say, we have all this volume, we get this great pricing, we can negotiate with the manufacturers. And maybe that's true if the employer has like 20,000 employees. But as you go down market, it's clear from our analysis that that is not true. As they go down market and as they're working with these smaller groups, they do whatever they want.
Daniel, anything today we haven't spoken about or I forgot to ask you, anything you want to share?
We talked about my crispy fade.
Yeah, you got a new haircut, you said.
Yeah.
That's a good segue. You're one of Roundstone's best dressed, right? Didn't you win that award 3 years running?
Yeah.
So where's your influence on your clothes?
Oh man, that's actually a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bruce Springsteen earlier. Is it Bruce?
Yeah. On the weekends. On the weekends, it's Bruce.
Right.
I really like kind of like Japanese streetwear a lot.
Not familiar with that.
It's just like kind of like this, like
Japanese.
a little simple.
So people in Japan wear simple coats.
Like simple and tasteful,
All right, interesting.
Yeah,
I have a
fun
good friend.
fits.
I have a good friend in Japan. I'm going to have to ask him.
Yeah.
So, well, Daniel, I appreciate you spending some time talking to me. You're one of Roundstone's best. Appreciate you doing all the good work, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.